Hello everybody, welcome back to Roll Paper. Just a bit of an update video today. I appreciate that's the same as what I put out last time, but as you can probably see, there's no layout update because nothing has changed on the layout. I had hoped to be able to have put some ground cover on, but with a couple of things happened, I haven't been able to do that yet. I'm hoping to do that within the next couple of weeks. It'd be nice if I can do it before Christmas, but the run up to Christmas, you never know what's going to happen. So this is a bit of a rolling stock update. There's a couple of new items turned up and some changes to some of the stock I've already got. So first up, my three centre beams are finally finished, or as near to finished as they're going to be for the time being. The one at the back is the first one I did, and I did the 3 video series on how I weathered that, and then I've also got the UP and the other Canadian National one at the front there, which is the most recent one I've done. I'm really pleased with how these came out as my sort of first proper weathering project using these techniques, using the combination of the wet on wet as well as the brush painting, some of the other details, and then airbrushing underneath has, I think, worked quite nicely. I've also got the tie down cables on in 3 different patterns. So the original one I did, you can't actually see the cables there, I don't think, but they would just run straight up to their little hooks. And the second one, the Union Pacific one, has got a bit of graffiti on just at the end there. Again, that's copied from the prototype models. This one was quite hard to do, being a dark coloured car. Made it quite interesting because I've actually weathered it with mostly just lighter browns than the brown that it's painted in, to lighten up some of the panels, and just I've modelled it in a not particularly poor condition. There's not a lot of rust on there, but it's mostly just a bit of a fade put on, a bit lightening up, and then some dirt around the platforms and the bolsters. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that one's come out. That's got the most complicated, I think, setup on the tie down cables. Again, based on the prototype photographs, just for something a bit different. I've tried to vary them as much as I can. Then the third one at the front, the CN one, is last one I did. Again, I've gone a little bit lighter on the weathering. Looking at the platforms, I feel I perhaps could have maybe turned them down a bit. Certainly some of them are looking a bit yellow, so this, I might come back to this, although I've got the cables on, which might make it quite hard to do. Again, I've got a little bit of graffiti at the end there, based on the photographs of the original, or a combination of originals. And then the rust wear around the back, I've no idea what will have caused those curved wear around the opera windows, but they are based on the original. And this had a fade, I threw a fade of white over not the whole thing, but just the actual centre beam itself around the windows, just to lighten that up a bit, particularly around the bottom of the centre beam. And that, although I haven't, as I say, I'm not 100% happy with how the platforms have turned out, I think generally speaking that's my favourite of the 3. So there we go. So that there was I did a 3-part video on how I weathered the first of those 3, and for anyone who's been following me on any of the other social media platforms, Blue Sky is now my favoured place to post. I've been posting on there quite regularly over the last few weeks. Probably sick to death of seeing these centre beams, so this will maybe the last video they'll feature in for a while. Okay, moving on. I went to the National Festival of Railway Modelling on the 24th of November, I think it was, Sunday, and I've picked up a couple of items from there. So first up, Railbox boxcar by Atlas. I got this from the Anorax Anonymous stand at the National Festival of Railway Modelling. Always brilliant when they're at a show. They've always got tons of really good stuff. What I did buy from them was this lovely boxcar, really detailed. I've got various Atlas models which I've bought off eBay over the years, and they just seem to get gradually better and better with more and more detail. This one's lovely. It's got loads of underframe, so if ever I model a train wreck, you'll be able to see that. But it's also got cut levers, the chain on the brake wheel and that sort of thing. So it's a really nice car. I've got a couple of the old Atham Blue Box ones, which already look dated and terrible, but alongside this, yeah, they're really not good, and this is lovely. It will be weathered. I haven't quite decided how yet. I've got a really good weathering project, hopefully really good weathering project on the go at the minute, that I started with one of the blue boxes, and I think it might, if it works out, I might treat that as a trial and then repaint this one, because if it works out it should look great. But no, we'll see how that goes. But there you go, that was these. I've seen footage of these running on the Morristown and Erie, and for roll paper they're fairly pretty good for that as well. They're fairly ubiquitous, I think, across the American railroad system. So that was my first most relevant purchase of the day. Unfortunately, after this it went downhill slightly. Purchase number 2. I got this from Ellis Clark Trains, who also often have a pretty good selection of American stuff on their stand. I went to get to Milton Keynes in October. They were there and they had nothing American. They only had the British stuff, and their stand was absolutely mobbed. Couldn't go anywhere near it. Didn't even bother looking in the end, to be honest, beyond a cursory glance to see that they hadn't got anything I was obviously interested in. But this time the stand was a lot more open. It was much easier to, I think, because the National Festival of Railway Modelling was such a big show, loads of room to move around, loads of room to see what you wanted to see. And fairly early on the show I spotted this, which is a Bachmann Spectrum Baldwin 280. I kept coming back to it. It was a toss-up between this and the GP7U. As I say, the GP7U was outside my budget for the day. This was well within, so I don't need this. I have no need for this whatsoever at all. But I have been looking at a few on eBay recently. Morristown and Leary had a Baldwin, but not this type, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I haven't decided. It's definitely going to get weathered. It's going to be an interesting weathering project, and it'll probably get relettered as well, and I might swap the coal out with a real coal load. So yeah, it's DC only, runs reasonably well. I think I need to give it a good run in. I've had it just pottering up and down the track, better forwards than backwards, which seems to often be the way with these things. But I think a service and a good run in, it was pretty cheap, to be honest, so fully boxed. But yeah, at the price, I had some concerns about it, but as I say, it runs okay, and I think once I get it sorted out, it'll be running fine. So yeah, there's a bit of a change from what I'm doing, but yeah, something a bit different. After this, I went round to the back of the Ellis Clark stand, and things went downhill even further. So having got the Baldwin, which bears no relation to anything I'm modelling at all, I made my way around to the back of the Ellis Clark stand, where they had what can best be described as some rummage boxes full of various bits and bobs. There was 4 or 5 of them, loaded with unboxed box cars and various other things, and in there was a number of these. Now obviously the rummage boxes, they're unboxed and they're priced unbelievably cheaply, and I just couldn't not buy them. My only regret, I initially perhaps regretted buying them, but with hindsight, my only regret is that I didn't buy more of them. They had a Burlington Northern one there I wish I'd picked up, a couple of Santa Fe's, they had loads. Now clearly these would not run into roll paper, and as far as I'm aware they've never ever had any in storage or anything on the Morristown and Leary, so these don't fit with anything at all that I'm doing. But at the price, I couldn't turn them down. They are so nice. I mean, they're massive. They're great. They're just utterly, for me, utterly pointless, but they're great. And I thought, you know, the worst case scenario is I'm sure I'll get my money back if I put, or I couldn't see that I couldn't get my money back if I put them back on eBay. But I'm quite tempted to use them as a bit of practice for doing some graffiti and some weathering. I think on my previous update video I showed a bit of my tiny collection of stack train. Similar to that, these may well just be something I'll hang on to if I get the chance to run that on a big loop somewhere. Whether I build one, whether I can use one, I don't know. These will go nicely in a manifest train. So having my initial thought having been, oh, I can buy them, weather them, resell them, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to hang on to them because they're just, compared to British stock and compared to anything I've owned before in smaller scales, they're just massive. So there you go, utterly pointless purchase, but less than 30 quid for all three. You can't go wrong really, and as I say, I just wish I'd picked up another couple, though like I say, what I would have done with them, who knows. But there you go, that's the last of my largely pointless purchases from the National Festival of Railway Modelling. It was a great show. There were some superb layouts there, a really good selection of layouts, really good traders. There was a lot of smaller traders there, which was nice. Loads to see. I bought my tickets in advance and I was there all day. It was just brilliant. Well worth the money for a day out. So yeah, there we go. I've just got another couple of quick projects on the go that I want to show you, one of which is going to form part of another video anyway. So following the weathering of the centre beams, I've got quite into doing my weathering, and I've moved on with a couple of other models. So with a bit of free time, I've got into weathering my small fleet of tank cars, and the first one I did was this general service ACFX car. No indication on it what it would carry, but it'll be carrying something into roll paper, and then when it's on the Morristown Leary layout, it'll be one of the cars serving the transload area there. This was I did do a video on this, but as I say, it's a long and winding video and it didn't need to be a half hour, because this is a fairly quick and simple weathering project. I didn't go into huge detail on this. It was just a fade and then airbrushing sort of the rust marks and the dirt on top and on the underframe underneath. It was done mostly with the airbrush. I think I did a bit of highlighting in a few of the areas, did a bit of wet on the top, and then some dry brushing around the details around the trucks. But it's mostly an airbrush project. I do find airbrush weathering a bit generic. I think hand weathering can look much better, or does look much better. And I might come back to this one at some point and just add some extra detail. Though looking at the prototype picture I worked from, it's largely there's not a lot to it. It is just colour changes. So I'm happy with how it's turned out. There will be a short video that I'll put out on how I did it, just if anyone's interested. If anyone isn't brave enough to use their airbrush, it's not particularly difficult. You know, as long as you're careful with it and you've had a bit of practice first, I don't think, you know, on the whole you can achieve reasonable results fairly easily. On which subject, I also had a go at this. I'd done the first one, so I fairly quickly moved on to this ADM car. Now again, this I started off, I put a camera right. I put a fade over this one as well, which was nicely faded. I was quite pleased with how it turned out. And then I went to add just some gentle overspill round the top, and that went horribly wrong. I hadn't got my colour mix quite right. I was using acrylics, which are great. I've done the centre beams were done entirely with acrylics. The other tank cars done with acrylics, but with this, with the staining that I wanted, I really should have gone with oils. I think this went wrong, so I had to then strip it off, sprayed it with IPA to strip it, cleaned it up as best I could, and then attacked it again, and the second time wasn't as bad as the first time round, but I'm not 100% happy with it by any means. I'm kind of maybe somewhere in the region of 50% happy with it, in that it looks okay at a distance. So yeah, this one I might come back to at some point and have another go at, because yeah, it's okay, but not great, and I know I can do better, and I'd rather it look better than it does. The Morristown O'Leary have a lot of ADM, had a lot of ADM cars running on there. I think they still do have them going through. They serve BG Foods, and they used to serve one of the other industries down there as well, I think. I've got another 2 ADM cars, one of which is in weathering at the moment. I've faded it and put some graffiti on it, and I'm deciding, I've yet to decide exactly what I'm going to do with it next, but I should probably use some oils to try and get a better finish than I have on this one. So I haven't got that one out at the minute. It's in the box with the paint drying. So then arrived in the post just the other day was a second one of the slightly smaller ADM cars. This one is a very specific, although not the same number. I've again got some footage of this being delivered to BG Foods, one very similar to this. So my original plan was to weather this as per the one in the video. Now, having messed up the first one, I'm undecided what to do with this one. I'm still going to weather it, but this one was going to be fairly heavily weathered, and having ended up with the first one fairly heavily weathered, I'm not sure I want to end up with them both like that. So I'll have a little think about it, see how we go. This is an Atlas model. Well, they're both Atlas models, but this one I'm guessing is probably must be a newer one, because again, similar to the Railbox car earlier, absolutely superb detail on it, loads of underframe detail. It's got a couple of lift bars. It's just a really nice model, really nice, and a big step up from the other one. So I'm guessing that Atlas just at some point have just upped their detail a bit, and yeah, they're putting out some really nice stuff. Again, this is second hand. You might be able to see the wheels are already painted the rust colour. That was by the previous owner. I'll just probably paint them to match my others, just to get a bit of continuity across my fleet. But yeah, looking forward to getting on with that one, and hoping I can do a better job on that than I did with the other one. I'm in the process of planning my Morristown O'Leary layout, which is probably going to be done in modules, and I've kind of decided that I might represent BG Foods at one end of it, so that I can have these cars running into there. The way I'm planning it, I'll have some free space, so it's a question of which features of the Morristown O'Leary I'm going to model. But I'll probably cover that in another video. I'll do a little video on what I'm planning to do around that at some point. Okay, so that's what I've been spending my money on and working on over the last couple of months. Loads of projects still ongoing. I'm really getting into the weather in these cars. I've got my whole fleet. Now I've decided the whole fleet needs to be weathered down. Looking at the weathered ones compared to the unweathered, yeah, I need to get on with that, and I need to brave tackling some of my locomotives as well, which is slightly nerve-wracking. But I'll do another few freight cars, and then I'll get into doing that. I still obviously as well need to be getting my GP15s done. That project seems to have ground to a bit of a halt at the moment, but so yeah, I've been using the airbrush a bit recently, getting more used to the intricacies of that and how to use it and how to get effect with it. So fingers crossed I can crack on, get some paint on the GP15 soon. Okay, that's your update. Hopefully next time I'll have something a little bit more interesting. I might have something, see if I can get the layout set up and something running. Whether that'll be before or after Christmas, I don't know. Hopefully I'll pop out a short video on the weathering the tank car, and yeah, hopefully say another video out before Christmas. If not, hope everyone has a good holiday season, and it may be the new year before I speak again. Some of you will be perhaps quite pleased with that. Okay, if you've made it this far, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.